All right, everyone. Above all else, I think that the Butler rally that Trump held the other day probably helps him more than pretty much anything else. I mean, Kamala's self-imploding anyway. She keeps making gaffes, like she makes basic bitch mistakes. Every time she goes on a talk show, she goes on The View. Oh yeah, that's going to enthuse your core audience, the people that were going to vote for you anyway, the pink pussy hat wearers. That's really, really impressive. Trump, meanwhile, goes into the lion's den on a fairly regular basis. I like it when they say, well, Donald Trump is a coward. He's not making as many appearances as Kamala. Yeah, well, when Kamala appears on Fox News or goes on Joe Rogan's podcast or something, then maybe I'll actually pay attention to it. But you'll excuse me if I don't really care if she goes on The View or Colbert, where she sips on a beer as though she was 12 years old or something like that. As I was saying, says Donald Trump when he shows up in Butler, which is exactly what he needed to do. The optics of it were perfecto at the Butler rally. He almost gets shot there. It's taken off stage, of course, the rally ends. And so he decides, I'm going to do a redux. And now we've got actually news that an Afghan national was just jailed for planning to do terrorist attacks on Election Day. So we'll be talking about that, I'm sure, later. Donald Trump knocked it out of the park with the Butler rally. It was exactly what he needed to do. It shows strength. Having Elon Musk there, of course, didn't hurt, by the way. That was a good lead-in for Donald Trump's speech in general. I think that was optically good as well, because he's done a lot of good, especially North Carolina, which has been left behind by the U.S. government currently. They're too busy talking about Lebanon at the moment. They're not really interested in what's happening in North Carolina. I suspect they won't be interested in what happens today and tomorrow in Florida either. It's going to be unfortunate. Milton re-strengthening into a Cat 5, of course. We'll talk about that as well. Kamala Harris is busy going on podcasts right now. She believes that this is a good idea for her campaign. Trump, meanwhile, goes to a place where he was very close to killed. If he had not turned his head to look at a chart, literally at the moment that he did, he would be dead right now. And he goes and he says, as I was saying, and then he launches off into his normal tirades, which they are. Sometimes he gets a little bit unfocused, admittedly, but he knocked it out of the park optically. This is the kind of president that we need. We need a president who is not afraid. And if anyone has any reason to be afraid right now, it would be Donald Trump. He's under multiple persecutorial legal attempts against him. He's almost been killed on several occasions. He literally got shot at Butler, which is why he went back there. There was another incident at his golf course where a person with a gun almost got close enough to him to shoot him, and clearly intended to do so. That's been memory hold by now, by the way. He was taken alive. You're not going to hear much more about that story, I have a feeling, during the election. He's been almost killed. He's been legally persecuted. He's had his businesses, they're breathing down his neck on every fucking goddamn level. And yet he's like, what the fuck? He doesn't crack. And the system that probably has a problem with this. They're definitely not very happy about the fact that Donald Trump hasn't decided to retire with grace or something. He's gotten to the age where he's like, look, my kids are going to take over. They're all adults and shit. Barron is now 18, etc. I don't give a fuck anymore. I'm just going to give my life for the country, basically. He is being selfless, actually. I don't like to use martyristic terminology to describe politicians, and Trump is not a god emperor. If he's reelected, he's not going to do a perfect job. He's going to do things that piss me off on occasion. He did in his first term. One of the first things he did was say, maybe we should reopen those CIA black sites. I castigated him for that. Well, I'm going to bomb this Syrian airbase. Okay, well, while it's not technically sort of an act of war, I still, on paper, for ideological reasons, I disagreed with him. There are going to be things that he does that I disagree with him on. But the alternative is so terrible, so horrifying, so psychopathic as well. Even if Donald Trump were half the man that he is, I would still be voting for him. To be clear, he was a good president. Maybe not a great one, but definitely a good one. We haven't had one of those in a long time, since first term of Ronald Reagan. Bill Clinton would be in the acceptable range. That's the only alternative. Otherwise, they've all been losers. Herbert Walker, a really great presidency. There's a reason he didn't get reelected. George W., he got reelected because we were at war and for no other reason. And the alternative was so weak that it didn't really make a difference anyway. Obama, yeah, Great Recession Obama. He did such a great job managing the economy. Everything was hunky-dory. No, it's Trump. As I was saying, says Donald Trump, here's this graph that literally fucking saved my life. The optics of that were a 10 out of 10. It was perfect. He couldn't have pulled it off better. And only Trump could pull something like that off, by the way. He has the it factor. It's something within politics, you've got to understand. Within politics, optics mean arguably more than ideology does at times. What you say and how you say it. But how you say it is arguably more important. Donald Trump is a reasonably good public speaker. Kamala, sometimes. If she has a teleprompter, she's okay. She's acceptable. If she doesn't have a teleprompter, she can't answer basic bitch questions. You may have noticed this on several hundred occasions over the last couple of months. It's like night and day, really, looking at the two campaigns. And this is my ultimate pitch for Trump. Look at what they're saying and how they're saying it, how they would govern. You know how Trump would govern because he's already been president of the United States. Kamala's been vice president. How has she governed? What did she do? She was named border czar, which was probably Jill Biden's idea, by the way. I believe in that particular conspiracy theory. I think that was basically a backhand, a bitch slap towards her. How is the border going right now? Are you winning, son? I don't think so. Kamala Harris is a fucking loser. Trump is a fucking winner. Now, that doesn't make him perfect. He's not God Emperor Trump. He's just going to be President Donald Trump. Will he do a good job? Yeah, I think that he will. In fact, I think his second term, arguably, and this is uncommon for presidents, might be better than his first term. When he has nothing to lose because he can't run again, well, there you go. He doesn't have to run for re-election or anything like that. He can mint J.D. Vance or somebody else for that role in his stead. Probably would be J.D. Vance, and that's perfectly acceptable. J.D. Vance as president, that'd be fine with me. Not as good as like Trump or a Rand Paul or something, but it would be acceptable. It'd be fine. I think that he would be capable of governing the country in a reasonable manner. Donald Trump, I think, in a second term, would do well. And look at this. The balls on this man. He almost gets killed. And his first rationale is, I'm going to go back there. I'm going to finish that rally. I didn't get to finish it the first time around. Hopefully the second time will be better. God damn. Can you imagine Kamala doing something like that? No, she would never. Not in a million years would she have the balls to do that. She doesn't have balls at all. Although, jury's still out. You never know. That's about all. Peace out.